I'm SCXCR and I did not think this through before agreeing to it. Let's plug and play. Just as video game consoles are nothing new, neither are bootleg knockoffs of video game consoles. Just ask Ashens, his channel's filled with videos on them. But this one in particular raises several questions, not the least of which being, why is Dad so much more excited than everybody else? And who or what is Lexibook? Short answer?
They're French. Stinky pits and all, baby!
And since I don't have much insight on these guys, I asked the European branch of RiverCityGamers to help out with researching Lexibook, and here's Ama Yurahakugo to present the results.
Lexi, what now? Just because I happen to be European, that doesn't mean I'm magically going to know about every single little video game company you might want to ask me about. Although I am a self-professed expert in knowing obscure shit that nobody else remembers. But it probably would have been a bit easier if you just checked Moby Games about this stuff. Oh. Except even they don't seem to have an entry on these guys.
Based on what little I could find, Lexibook is based out of France and primarily makes electronics for kids, many of which are educational. They and their stock photos of families pretending to be happy have been around since 1992, and since then they've made a few different handhelds and TV consoles. So if this is a Lexibook console, why does it say Yeno Games on the side? And who the hell is Yeno Games? Yeno was a game and console distributor in the 80s and 90s, bringing technology like the Daiwo DPC-200, the Mitsubishi FL M120, and the VTech Socrates to various regions of Europe like Germany, Belgium, and France. And here's a shocker.
They're French.
Lexibook acquired them back in 1998, and supposedly they phased out the Yeno name and replaced it with their own. But for some reason, it's slapped onto the side of this console. Probably for that name recognition value. From a region that Yeno never distributed in. Okay, look at it this way. There are 200 games on this console, and I paid $25 for it, so that's about 12.5 cents per game. I think it's only fair that we lower the standards for these games just a little bit when we start playing them. Just hope that they function. The moment you open the box, the first thing you'll see is that everything comes in a big plastic sheet with recesses for all the parts. I feel like I'm unboxing a public school lunch tray. The controllers, obviously, are modeled after the Wii, but instead of 2 AA batteries, they each need 3 AAA batteries, and the battery cover has to be screwed on and off. But since there's no sensor bar, they can't be used to point at the TV, and they can only sort of detect motion. The wrist straps are built into the controller, and each is specifically assigned for player 1 and 2. While the controllers don't feel like they're going to fall apart, they do look and feel cheap. All of the buttons snap in and out when pressed, and most make an audible popping noise in the process. Also, the end of the controller is translucent, and if you look carefully you can see the wiring and part of the circuit board jutting out. As cheap as the controllers feel, the console itself actually is. It pretends to have a disk drive, but that's just more translucent black plastic which, again, you can see the innards of the console through it. That's not the most surprising thing about this though. Check this out. The thing is light as a feather. In fact, it's actually just a plastic shell which has the absolute bare minimum of hardware packed inside of it. Here's a list of things this console is lighter than. The Wii. A Neo Geo controller. A couple of GameCube games. A t-shirt and a CD. My cell phone and a half-empty can of soda. There's also a slot in the back for a micro SD card. A 4GB micro SD card to be precise. If you remove it, the console won't start up, but it will lead you to one of the best music tracks on the console, which they didn't even bother trying to loop. 4GB microSD card has to be plugged in or the console won't work. How many of the 200 games are on this card? How many games are on the microSD card? 12 games? 57 games? 134 games? Or all 200 games? Lock in your votes while I abandon all hope I have for this console because every game is on the microSD card. I know because I put it in an SD adapter, plugged it into my PC, and saw the files and folders for every single game as well as the operating system and site applications. Most of the games going by their last modified date were made in the mid to late 2000s and, amazingly, several of the games in the fun section have different names or aren't even spelled right. Many of the games even have raw.avi video files or MP3 sound and music files which anyone can simply play or copy-paste off of the board. Like this one. Most of the sound files are terrible music or a Chinese guy trying to read English voiceovers.
Wonderful! The throw is very perfect.
Oh, you have failed. Don't lose the chance. You should pay attention to the rules.
Misplay. Please adjust the throw gesture. Hit the remaining ball. Good. Go on.
Oh, great. You are the first. What a pity. You've broken the rule.
You might say, how do you know that the guy voicing this is Chinese? Well, I don't. But I think it's a pretty safe educated guess, considering that several of the program and audio files on the card are written in Chinese. Also, some of them sound like this.
哎呀，看来动作不正确哦。恭喜你过关啦！
Getting back to the system setup, guess where you're supposed to put the console? According to the manual, you should put it in front of the TV. And I don't mean off to the side or on a shelf right underneath it, I mean in front of the TV.
Obstructed view.
The menu has a mouse pointer, which is just there for decoration, and a voiceover for every single menu option.
Music, art, picture album, more.
And on top of games, it comes with extra applications, such as a calculator. For some reason. What's that, sweetie? You don't know what 12 times 8 is? Well, let's fire up the Lexibook, whatchamafucket, and find out! There are also instructions on how to use the system and its controllers. It also says there's a website you can visit to download more games and applications to the SD card, but it conveniently doesn't list a web address. Also, why is there a big X in the top right when I can't click on it to close this window? And what the hell is a star dict? You know what? I don't want to know. The classroom section is more of a killing time section. The art section consists of coloring, aka a coloring book, which includes the Earth looking really worried that the star is about to crash into it, and painting, which is a really old version of MS Paint. I'm not kidding. Look, it's MS Paint. Same tools, and it's even got the blue bar and red X at the top of the window. Then there's the music section, which is like if Mario Paint's music composer had a one-track mind. Literally, there's only one music track and you can only use one instrument sound. Sometimes it's tough just to get notes laid down on the track, and even though there were only 10 instrument sounds, I couldn't make out what some of them were because of how garbled the font looks. Whatever, let's just see how the electric guitar sounds. Not bad, but I think the trumpet's got the cleanest sound. The picture album is a joke, as it's just screenshots of some of the sports games. The video teaching folder is also a joke, as the only video in it is the intro to the ping pong game, which is so choppy and poorly animated the only thing you can learn from it is when you pay $25 for an off-brand plug-and-play console, you get what you pay for. The games are divided into two main categories, sports and fun, because as we all know, sports games aren't fun. That's sarcasm. Don't get your panties in a bunch. There are 39 sports games and 161 fun games, and if you think I'm not going over every single one of them just so you can feel a fraction of the suffering I did, you must not have noticed yet that this is a multi-part video series. Let's start with sports, specifically tennis. There were 3 characters to choose from with different stats for each, but I didn't notice much of any difference between them. Sometimes the game detects your swing, sometimes it doesn't. However, if you violently shake the controller from side to side when the ball gets within 10 feet of you, you'll hit it. And that's the extent of this game's depth. It's like a prototype for Wii Sports Tennis, except you can just casually serve the ball at about 170 miles per hour. To put that into context, the fastest tennis serve ever recorded was 163 miles per hour. Movement is automatic, there are no shot types or strengths, and if there's a way to aim shots, I couldn't figure it out. It's tough to win a single point in this because the opposing AI is so difficult. No matter which character they are, they almost always chase down every single shot no matter how far away it is. I had one point which lasted 3 minutes before I finally won. 3 minutes! The only saving grace here is the game over animation if you play as the girl. Super Slider is a skiing game which, like tennis, lets you choose a character using a painfully slow selection screen. Unlike tennis, Super Slider doesn't pretend there's any difference between any of the characters. Not even this abomination masquerading as a rabbit. You have to navigate a slightly winding course, going between gates and reaching the finish before time runs out. Both controllers have to be used for this game, and thrusting both behind you is supposed to give you a boost of speed. What usually happens is either one of them registers, causing you to steer to the side and possibly running into a gate or the boundaries, or neither of them register and you'll lose speed. Aside from the controls, this isn't a difficult game as, despite moving over 200 kilometers per hour, or for you non-metric viewers out there, over 125 miles per hour, everything still moves at a snail's pace. F-Zero GX, this is not. You can add a second or two to the timer by passing through gates or doing stunts by swinging around both controllers like a goddamn idiot in midair. Also, the music cuts out a lot because they didn't bother looping it properly. Golf somehow manages to undo much of the progress video games have made over the past 25 years. This game lags constantly, to the point where it not only fails to read swing strength, but often doesn't realize you're swinging at all and kicks you out of the stroke screen. If they were going for the Happy Gilmore putting experience, then hey, they nailed it. The red bar for recommended swing strength often doesn't account for what surface you're on, so you can end up badly over or undershooting greens and fairways. I consider it nothing more than dumb luck that I got a birdie on a couple of holes.
How is it that this golf game is significantly worse than Fuji Golf, a casual Microsoft game made on next to no budget that came out in 1991?
Snowball, which I didn't realize this was a sport, starts a trend of games which only use one controller but don't have multiplayer. Actually, most of the games on this console don't have multiplayer, and that includes a fair number of the quote-unquote sports games. 5 of the 9 games on the main screen don't have multiplayer, which if the box art is anything to go by, I thought that was supposed to be a selling point for this system. After another painfully slow character selection screen, it's time for the painfully slow slog of a game. You flick the controller forward to throw snowballs and knock out the opposing kids until you get to one with 2 health bars, beat him or her, and then you win that round, of which there are 6, and they average about 8 minutes each. You can move side to side very slowly and duck behind cover, either to avoid getting hit, even though it absolutely looks like you're getting hit most of the time, or curl into the fetal position at having to hear this annoying music loop which is the same for every round and never ever changes. There's a snowball power-up which I'm still not sure what it does. Maybe it makes snowball throwing faster, but I never noticed a difference. Aiming is harder than it should be because your shots are always to the right of where you're centered. Shots also have a weird perspective on them as you move closer to the sides of the screen, which makes them veer toward the center. Sometimes when I try to move sideways, instead I'd end up throwing a snowball, despite my controller not moving at all. Off the top of my head, I can think of only 2 positives to Snowball. 1, the whole point of this game is to make children cry. and 2, the sound effects, most of which aren't original. Boxing opens with a dramatic PowerPoint slideshow, and the revelation that the game is actually called Championship Boxing. You select one of 4 nameless characters, unless you call them by what their trunks say, and get something many games in this section don't have: instructions on how to play. I really appreciate that the game taught me how to den fence in particular. For some reason, I couldn't control where my punches with the right controller were going, so most of the time I wound up punching with my left hand and den fending with my right. That is, when the input lag wasn't screwing me over. Den fence is weird because when you block a punch, your guard drops automatically, so you have to keep letting go and holding start again. You can build up a meter to get power punches? I have no idea what's happening. It's even more confusing when the opponent does it. The first time I saw this, I thought it was a glitch. Anyway, knock the other guy down until his health bars are completely drained to win, at which point the music starts layering over itself, and you get booted back to the character select screen. Yep, the game's only 1 stage long. Would you expect anything less? Or more, I guess I should say? Beach volleyball has no multiplayer despite only using 1 controller. The opening demo outright lies about the controls, as you're supposed to hold up, not down, to serve, and implies you can move your character, which you can't. After selecting one of the 4 palette swap teams, you're dumped into a tournament and realize that not only does the music not fit at all, but even though there's only 1 motion control, flicking the controller up to bump, set, spike, and dig, it's either not very responsive or requires abnormally precise timing. The game never explains how to direct spikes to one side of the court or the other, and it never explains how to perform the power shots the CPU uses to score on you every time. Now for baseball. Again, only 1 controller is used, but no 2-player. The only game mode is bottom of the 9th, which starts you off at the top of the 1st. You pick a team and play out a game of baseball, which won't make it anywhere near the full 9 innings. Hitting and running requires swinging the controller ridiculously hard, and you have to swing the controller up, not to the side. For running, you have to shake the controller ridiculously fast, otherwise your player turns into a mime. Is it just me, or does the base runner look gigantic compared to everything else? Also, you only ever run to first base. No doubles, no triples, everything is either a single or a home run. Speaking of, if you have runners on base, they won't appear on screen. Maybe they ducked out early because the announcer was pissing them off.
It's just unbelievable! It's just unbelievable! It's just unbelievable! It's just unbelievable!
At least they nailed the ballpark atmosphere. What with the giant soda bottle saying baseball game, and the banners saying baseball game, the Vigor refuel, and China refuels. I don't want to say pitching is impossible, but it is. There's no way to aim pitches, so everything goes right down the middle of the plate. There aren't curveballs or sliders or breaking balls, every pitch is a fastball. And to throw a decent pitch, you need to swing the controller so hard you'll end up on the short list for Tommy John surgery. Not that it matters, because the batter can hit absolutely everything you throw at him. The only strikes I threw were when he decided not to swing. And when he did, it was almost always a home run!
And it's home run!
And when it's not a home run, you can't control any field players. Most of the time you'll just get a video of them moving toward the ball, then starting to run past the ball before it abruptly cuts off. You might still win because batting and base running are incredibly glitchy. Sometimes holding the controller perfectly still registers it as being in constant motion, so you'll end up spamming full power swings and sprinting to first base. You can let this happen until the score runs up to 15-0 and win by mercy rule. Oh, for fuck's sake, 8 games in and we're already reusing the calculator music. Again, there were different characters with different stats, and again, I didn't notice any difference between them. You can curve the ball with each throw, but it always seems to direct the ball away from most of the pins, as you're ultimately still throwing the ball in a straight line.
Hit the remaining ball. Good. Go on.
Oh, wait, those voice clips were for the bowling game? That line doesn't even make sense for bowling. The problem with bowling, aside from the annoying characters and environments, is it's way too easy to run out the score. There's a spot on the lane where if you throw the ball at half strength or higher, you'll get a strike every single time.
You put your feet up and you relax because you are going to witness the perfect game. You see? The perfect game. What else would you expect from Mr. Perfect?
Basketball, or rather Soup Oot, starts off with the best music track on the console. And yes, I'm aware of how low my standards are for this console's music. The instructions just tell you what the modes of play are instead of how to play. But that's okay because all you need to know is that you shoot baskets by holding the controller like a dart and throwing it at the TV. Even those crappy Wii party games at least ask you to do the basketball shooting motion. There were 3 rounds, one where the basket is stationary, one where it moves slightly, and one where it moves faster. In the latter 2, if you swish a shot, it counts as a 3-pointers. Shot strength seems downright random at points, not just in reading how hard you move the controller, but in how the ball reacts after it's shot. You can have 2 shots at the same strength, one of which goes in, while the other isn't even close. This despite only being able to shoot directly in front of you, which makes the rounds where the basket moves really boring. So boring, I feel I have to spice this part of the video up a bit by showing you Gerald Green's cupcake dunk.
Now Green gets the bounce, throws it down, and puts out the candle in the process.
He blew it out! He blew it out, Chuck! Chuck, he blew the candle out!
Candle out.
Are you kidding me?
Now it's time to get into the more section, where they don't even try to dress up the games, as everything is just listed in alphabetical order with folder symbols next to everything. Do I need to start another counter for how often the calculator music gets used? Shake the controller violently to run. There, that's it. You can experience everything this game has to offer, including the title screen and victory animation, in under a minute. Hope you enjoyed the chance to play up and engage in some civic exercise. Fucking hell. It's the same thing as 100 meter, but you have to press up to jump as you're spazzing out with the controller. Even when you inevitably hit a gate, you can not only still win, but still get first overall. Archery is actually okay-ish. Yes, it's another one-stage, incredibly short game with graphics out of a college art project, but it actually functions almost entirely as intended. Except you don't have to hold the controllers like the instructions show. That's a load of shit. The most annoying thing, other than the voice clips when you choose a character, Yahoo! Is how the bow sways around when you pull back an arrow. It's like how in first-person shooters, if you aim down the sights, the gun will sway back and forth a bit, but much stiffer. I know I'm setting the standards low by saying this, but this is the best game on the console so far. Here's something you probably don't know about me. I love badminton. Whenever the Olympics come around, I find out when it is and what channel it's on, and call off work to watch it. At the highest level, a badminton match looks like Super Saiyans playing tennis. It's ridiculous. And as you might expect, this version of badminton is almost nothing like that. Like tennis, if there's a way to aim shots, I couldn't figure it out. Unlike tennis, the AI is rock stupid. Most of the points I won were from the opponent standing still and letting the birdie hit them in the face. Even so, I was still struggling to do well, because swings don't register consistently and hit detection for the birdie seems random. The only consistent way I found to hit it was to basically let it hit me in the chest before swinging, which is absolutely not how badminton works. Smashes and lobs seem to occur randomly, and it's a minor miracle if you can get a leaping smash to happen. God damn it! Somehow I still managed to win a match.
Jerry!
And the game froze. Welcome to Canoe Slalom, home of the 1,000-yard stare.
I kid you not, I have seen some shit.
What? Again? No, wrong, no, right away, this is wrong. This is a kayak, not a canoe. You can tell by the paddle.
Mixing up kayaks and canoes? Oh, you better believe that's a paddling.
You use both controllers to paddle down a river and go through gates while avoiding rocks. It's like the skiing game, but harder to control. Instead of holding the paddle in the water to steer, you have to keep paddling on one side until it decides to work. And if the first 8 seconds or so of each heat is any indication, it's in a near constant state of slowdown, which makes the controls even less responsive. Everything's just in a straight line until the finish, unlike, say, Olympic whitewater slalom where you have rapids and different directional currents and gates you have to go in reverse through. Also unlike Olympic whitewater slalom, this isn't fun. Curling works for the most part. You can throw stones, sweep them down the ice, even sweep one side to alter the trajectory. The power meter's consistent, though it lies when it says you can hold up to start it. It functions, but it does have noticeable problems. The AI isn't very smart, as it regularly helped me rack up points in each set. Wait, are those the 3 crowns of Sweden? I'm playing as Sweden? Then what the hell happened to their flag? You can't sweep your opponent's stones if they're hit, and the biggest flaw of the game, no yelling. That's the one thing that makes curling fun, is watching adults scream at rocks.
Keep it moving, keep going.
It's close.
Hard.
Bite it.
Bite it.
Close. Waist close.
Yep. Clean your ass. Yeah. Make sure.
The game's otherwise functional, but it's also more than twice as slow as curling in real time. It takes a slow, methodical sport and makes it painfully slow. Again? Darts can't decide if it wants to be really boring or really annoying. Boring because it's darts, and because look at these guys. That is the face of pure, unbridled apathy. Annoying because every time you hit a bullseye, or a double, or a triple, this happens.
Great! Great! Great!
You're using Windows and Mac sounds in the same game? It pretends you're getting nervous and moves the aiming reticule around, but that goes away the moment you move it. And throw strength is almost always at a point where you'll nail your target every time. The only challenge here is staying awake. Oh, come on, I thought we were past this! You shake the controller like an idiot, then hold up to select the angle of the throw. The only other difference to the track and field games we've seen so far is that the crowd is frozen in time when you're on the podium. Guess what every menu sound in fencing is? Fencing, in essence, is a simplified fighting game. One attack, 2 types of defense, and movement. There's also a super meter, which essentially makes you unhittable while lunging in for attacks. This would be passable as long as I couldn't just spam attacks the whole time to win. Of course. If you try to play the game seriously, it boils down to a glorified guessing game due to how slow the inputs register and the length of almost every move's recovery time. And speaking of time, who the hell needs 9 minutes per round for this? And why does it show 3 slots for round wins when each match is best of 3? I'm never going to escape this, am I? You have to whip the controller really hard to cast, but for reeling in fish, it takes barely any effort. This is emphasized by level 4, when the game abruptly throws in the chance of breaking your fishing line. It also tosses in the chance of fishing out crap like shoes in level 2.
Well done.
Why do they still play the well done voice in the calculator music even when you fish out garbage? Speaking of garbage, what in the 8th circle of hell is this? Did the programmer's child draw this? Or at least color it in using the bootleg MS Paint from earlier? And why is one of these named after the formation of the universe? Not like it matters. Even the fish that do exist don't look like their real-world counterparts. On to football, where they can't even get the menus right. With one exception, nothing is highlighted. It just assumes you know that the start button gets you into a game and the select button takes you back. As for the why is there a cat boy? As for the game, it's the soccer game from Wii Fit. It's a near exact copy. You head the balls as they come to you, avoid getting cleats or panda heads to the face, yep, even the obstacles are exactly the same. It even shows how many calories you burned. Or something. I'm just guessing that's what caloric means, because otherwise I have no idea. There were 3 levels, and the only difference between them is how many balls you'll see, which... No. Nope. Nope, I'm done. You know what? I need a break. I need to play real games. We'll cover the rest later. I've got to play something else. Later, guys.